Hello and welcome back to Helpful Human Design Tips. Today we are talking about the defined Ajna in either yourself or your child. So typically I have an undefined Ajna. If you are unaware of what the Ajna is, it is the second center down from the top in your human design body graph chart, and it is the center of mental awareness. This is where we process our beliefs, our opinions, our perspectives on the reality around us. Now, I typically, like I said, have an undefined Ajna, and so my beliefs and opinions are very flexible, typically. However, this year, due to some planetary shenanigans, my Ajna has been defined, and it will be defined until towards the end of September, most likely. And so it's been a very different feeling to have a defined Ajna, because in that center, I can take in a lot of opinions, I can take in a lot of perspectives, I can move around and look at things from a very different point of view. But this past year, I have found that my mental awareness it's a little bit faster processing. I recognize patterns just a little bit quicker. When I have a belief that comes through and it sits well with me in my body, I'm like, that's it. I am very convicted about what that is. And that is really nice. That is what both of my children have. Both of my children have defined Ajna centers, and they are very opinionated. They see something around them and they take it in and they're like, this is great. This is what I believe now. And this is how I see the world. I see the world from this point of view. And I think that is fantastic. It's actually something that has flummoxed me over the years. I think I've mentioned this in the past. I tend to have a hard time grasping onto a solid opinion or concept. And sometimes it really kind of freaks me out because I don't feel like I have a solid grasp on what is going on, because things are always shifting. This year, it's been different. Here's the crux of the Ajna Center from what I can see from my current perspective. The thing with the Ajna Center is if it is defined, then shifting my thoughts around something is difficult. Typically, I would use affirmations. I would retrain my brain to shift my perspective, and then I'd be like, okay, that's cool and everything. But that's a little bit different because I have to really believe it. If I want to shift it, I have to really, really believe that. And I see that with my kids too. They look at something, they form this opinion, and I can't just tell them, no, this is actually how it is. They're like, no, it's like this, Mom. And I have to kind of almost talk it through with them and logic it, the whole situation out, give them examples, and then let things filter in their own time for their defined Ajnas. Which is great, because once they do shift their perspective, if they decide to shift their perspective, then it is set in there and they're like, oh, this is my new perspective. I am now switching this way instead of this way. It's very fascinating to watch. It's very fascinating to live. And so I'm sure that if you have an undefined Ajna like me, typically, there has been at some point in your life where the cosmic planetary shenanigans have defined it in your center at some point, and you have felt this, but maybe you've just not been aware of this. So my tip this week is, if you do have an undefined Ajna center, whether it is all the time or just right now or whenever it comes up, be aware of how you are seeing certain situations and just really sit back and contemplate that and kind of see where let's see if it comes up as something that is holding you back, okay? So all beliefs are to an extent a limiting belief, right? In an ideal world, we would be able to endlessly shift our perspectives, not attach any thoughts or stories to anything, and we would be able to see every single point of view. That's not how we are built. Okay. And the law of relativity is constantly asking us to look at it from this angle, look at it from this angle, look at it from this angle. So see what beliefs or convictions that you have if you have this center defined, and see if it's holding you back. If it's not holding you back, then great. If it is holding you back in some way, meaning it's keeping you from maybe reaching this goal, or it's keeping you thinking about this thing that you really don't want to think about, maybe just kind of examine that and see if there is a way that you can find a way to shift it. Maybe that is through researching it. Maybe that is through watching someone give a talk on it. Maybe that is through watching a documentary. I don't know, but whatever works for you, whatever your learning style is, see if you can maybe shift your perspective, and maybe not even just shift it, but widen the angle a little bit, just so that you can have a broader view of everything in front of you. Because when we limit what we see or the reality that we create, we really close down possibilities for the universe to bring more stuff into us. So it's really good to really be open. And the Ajna Center is such a fantastically amazing center in my mind. Because you do have those beliefs, and humanity needs to see those beliefs, but sometimes they can get a little bit too fixed, and we got to just step back and widen the scope a little bit. So that is my helpful human design tip today on the defined Ajna, and I will catch you next time.